Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today we're going to talk about just the next 3 days in the severe weather outlook, but nothing crazy, but just something to be weather aware of and see what's going on in your neck of the woods. So let's get right into the video. All right, so our day one convective outlook is starting with a few strong to severe thunderstorms possible today in parts of the southeast and for the northeast of Montana to northwest North Dakota. Hazards may include isolated tornadoes, damaging wind gusts, and some hail. All right, let's start with the southeast. An upper level low that's been sitting over the Sabine Valley will start to move northeast towards western Tennessee by early Tuesday. A small area of strong upper level winds near the Gulf Coast will also weaken a bit as it shifts towards northern Florida and southeastern Georgia. Storms are expected to develop this afternoon from eastern Alabama into Georgia into northern Florida. This may form in clusters and produce strong winds, small hail, and even a tornado or two, especially near the Georgia and South Carolina coast, where low level winds are a bit stronger. So definitely take extra precautions out there along the Georgia and South Carolina coast, because you could see a better chance of a tornado or two along the coastline there. Further south into the Florida Peninsula and Keys, thunderstorms chances are more uncertain due to ongoing cloud cover and rain. If southern Florida gets enough sunshine, though, to warm up and clear those clouds out, some storms may still become severe and strong. So, overall, the risk still remains low here, with damaging winds being the main concern overall. All right, now to northeast Montana and northwest North Dakota. Across the region, warm and dry air near the surface could lead to a few isolated storms by early evening. If any of these storms do form, they can produce strong, dry downbursts, which are brief but intense wind gusts. So storm chances are low, but the environment could support a few localized severe gusts. All right, and to sum up the day one outlook, in the southeast, watch for storm clusters that could bring strong winds, small hail, and maybe a tornado or two. In southern Florida, storms are possible, but depend on how much sun breaks through the cloud cover. And in northeast Montana and northwest North Dakota, a low chance of evening storms, but any of those that do form could bring strong, brief winds. All right, that's day one. Let's go on to day two. All right, here's our day two convective outlook for the Storm Prediction Center. As of now, no organized severe weather is forecast across the U.S. for Tuesday and Tuesday night. That being said, there's still some areas to watch for general thunderstorms and a few strong isolated cells. Starting out west, there is an upper level trough over the Pacific Northwest expected to strengthen and dip further south and east over the next couple of days. This will help keep a steady southwesterly flow in place across the Rockies and high plains. Because of that, a weak surface trough will continue to develop across the eastern side of the Rockies, and a gradual return of moisture will take place across the plains. Now, despite the increase in moisture, strong capping, thanks to a warm layer of air aloft called an elevated mixed layer, will keep most of the southern plains quiet. However, we could see a few isolated high base thunderstorms form along the surface trough late Tuesday afternoon or evening. If they do, they may produce gusty winds due to dry, well mixed air near the surface. Further north into the Dakotas, there's a chance of some elevated storms late Tuesday night into early Wednesday morning as a cold front begins moving in. But again, nothing looks strong or organized at this point. All right, now shifting east. An upper level low that's currently spinning near the lower Mississippi Valley will gradually lift northeastward. Ahead of it, there's still plenty of warm, moist air in place from the Gulf into the mid Atlantic. And as the sun comes out, the heating will help trigger some scattered thunderstorms throughout the day from the Mississippi River to the Appalachians. One area to keep a slight eye on is in eastern North Carolina. A weak surface low and trough could help organize a few storms Tuesday afternoon. The wind profile may support some rotation, but confidence is low due to conflicting model guidance and possibly morning rain limiting storm development. Also watching parts of Mississippi and western Alabama where storms could form Tuesday evening on the edge of the warm air cap. The wind setup may favor organized cells, but again, weak lift means storms likely won't last long or be too intense. All right, so bottom line for the day two convective outlook is widespread severe weather is not expected on Tuesday. A few storms may develop in the plains and southeast with gusty winds possible, and the overall risk remains too low to issue any type of severe weather outlook. All right, on to our day three convective outlook. Here's what's happening. A fast moving upper level trough is expected to swing out of the intermountain west and push into the northern plains on Wednesday. Ahead of that system, a surface trough stretching across the plains will tighten up as a low pressure system starts to form over the Dakotas. This setup, along with a cold front sweeping through the area, will help trigger thunderstorm development across portions of the central and northern plains later in the day. So let's break down that plain setup for you guys on Wednesday. Much of the plains will be warm and unstable, but a strong cap or lid on the atmosphere will keep storms from developing too early. especially in the southern plains. Up north, however, the cap will be weaker and a modest return of moisture should allow for storm development by late afternoon. While dew points may only reach the mid to upper 50s, the combination of stronger lift and instability should be enough to get storms going along the cold front. The storms could produce hail and strong winds, but they may quickly merge into lines of clusters, which would limit how long any one of those storms stays severe. Okay, and then later Wednesday night, there's also a small chance that more storms could develop near the Missouri River Valley as winds strengthen aloft and lift increases. However, the models still differ quite a bit on whether or not that actually will happen. All right, and then meanwhile, back in the east, a separate upper level system will slowly move northeast across the mid Atlantic. It's expected to bring widespread showers and some weak thunderstorms, especially over the upper Ohio River Valley and surrounding areas. So, severe weather isn't expected there, but it could be a soggy day for the parts of the East Coast. So, Ohio looks to be getting more and more rain. So, it's going to stay out soggy up there for you guys. Sorry. Basically, to wrap up the day three convective outlook, central and northern plains, isolated severe storms are possible late Wednesday afternoon and into the evening, with hail and gusty winds being the main threats. And then the mid Atlantic to Ohio Valley, rain and general thunderstorms are expected, but nothing severe on Wednesday. I'm going to keep an eye on it though, and I'll let you guys know if anything further develops and anything changes. So let's get into the little bit of a breakdown and show some of the models for you guys before we end the video. All right, here is the day one outlook for tornadoes. As you can see, a 2% risk area for the eastern coast of Florida, all the way to the eastern side of Georgia and most of South Carolina. Georgia's coastline plus South Carolina's coastline should be the most concerned here for tornado 2, but again, nothing crazy. It's only a 2% risk. So just keep an eye on the weather as you go through this evening. And then moving on to the day one hail outlook, most of Georgia, a little bit of Florida, and a little bit of Alabama seems to be the risk for the most hail at this point. But again, it's only a 5% risk. So just keep an eye out for some storms that come through your area. Might have some hail and gusty winds and even a tornado or two as possible. And here is our day one Storm Prediction Center wind outlook. As you can see, all the way from the Keys, all the way up into Georgia, a little bit of Alabama, a little bit of Tennessee as well, and South Carolina, all have a 5% wind risk. So just be a little bit aware of any type of thunderstorms coming through the area, as they might be producing some strong winds as well with a 5% outlook. All right, now looking to the 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook. As you can see, much of the south is way above normal for temperatures, while the northern plains and up to the Pacific Northwest and even down towards Arizona and New Mexico remains below normal. So just keep an eye on the temperatures. It looks to be the south is going to be the big winner here for above normal temperatures. All right, here is the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. And as you can see in the green here, much of the country stays pretty soaked, besides California, New Mexico, and Florida. So we're in an active pattern here of wet weather. All right, here is the HRRR model for the next 18 hours. As you can see, the southeast hits those storms, a little bit of tornado threat there, a little bit of wind and hail threat as well, but nothing major. As those move out, you get a little bit in the eastern to northwestern parts of North Dakota that also have a chance of some storms as well developing later this evening. Again, nothing crazy there. Maybe a dry downburst happening, a dry thunderstorm. So definitely be on the lookout for those in the northern plains there up in Montana and North Dakota. All right, here is the NAM model that goes out for the next 84 hours. So this is a little bit of a longer extended outlook just to see what the weather is kind of going to look like here. And there we go. Now we're starting over. Here's the storms in the southeast. There's the storms that develop up in the northern plains there. As you can see, those move through. That's on 5:15. This is 5:16. So again, not a very active pattern. Um, just a few storm systems that set up. Nothing crazy though. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. As you can see here, I do have my live stream set up going. We always have a weather ticker for active alerts in the bottom of the screen, as well as the date and time and any severe tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings, as well as my own weather index. The WX index right now is showing 1854, which is pretty calm. Anytime it gets over above about 2500 is when we pretty much have a good severe weather event going on. And I usually try to go live on TikTok mostly, if not YouTube. YouTube, I've been saving for mostly 24/7 streams of 24/7 alerts for active weather alerts. And then when a severe weather outbreak is happening, then that's when I go live on TikTok to help inform the public of any type of storms that are going on. So if you definitely want to follow us, make sure to follow WX Rundown on TikTok and YouTube. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.